Okay, so hello everyone. This is Suraj. Today we talk about the topic. So let's we talk about what is AutoMapper. Okay, let's take in C sharp. So let's start with first. Let's talk about what is AutoMapper. So AutoMapper is a library in C sharp. AutoMapper is a library in in .NET. Okay, used to map one object to another automatically. One object to another automatically. Okay, it's mainly used to it is first convert entity to DTO. Entity to DTO. Okay, and convert DTO to entity. And reduce manual mapping code. Okay, so let's take the second topic. Why do we need AutoMapper? Okay, so suppose we have like employee entity. Okay, let's take an example in C sharp. Public class employee, and they have some properties inside public int id. They have some getter setup, get set properties, and let's take string. That's the name. They also have get set property, and let's take another public string email, some get set property, and the class is closed. Okay, so let's take employee DTO. We also have employee DTO. Okay, so let's take data class, public class, employee DTO. They have same getter set properties. Let's take inside they have not email. So there is some public int id. The get set property, and public string name. They have get set property, get and set. Object in employee detail, they have not email address. Suppose we have. So without AutoMapper, what we need to do? We need to take where DTO object is equal to new employee DTO, and we assign the properties ID, employee.id, and name is equal to employee.name. Okay. So let's take we have just two properties. In reality, they have around 10 to 10, 20, 50 some properties because lots of detailed communication to try to serve it. So it have create a lot of. So if we have, let's assume 50 property and many classes. Okay. So manually mapping become repetitive and massive. Manual mapping become repetitive and messy. So there is come the DTO. So what does AutoMapper do? Okay. So AutoMapper automatically maps properties. Properties, okay, with the same name and type. Okay. So there is the key feature, and it reduces boilerplate coding. Okay, so let's take example how can we use how to use AutoMapper. Okay, so step one, let's take some steps. In step one, install NuGet package. AutoMapper, and then take step two, create mapper profile. So let's take example. We use using AutoMapper and the public class manage mapping profile. Which is inherit from profile. Okay, and they have some properties called public manage profile. So method public mapping profile. Inside we write some create mapper. Create map. We pass the main class to and we also pass the mapper class. Okay, and just open close. Just call this properties, and the mapper class is called, profiler is closed. And let's take in top steps. Step 3, register in program.cs. Okay, so how can we register that? We just use builder.service, builder.services dot add AutoMapper, and we provide the type of mapping profile. Okay, and that's done. And then we inside controller, we can directly use it. So let's take example using controller. So we just let's take example private read only. IMapper. IMapper interface create object of mapper, and by constructor we can just initialize it, declare it, and by constructor we initialize it like public employee controller. This is a constructor. It can collect IMapper, OutMapper, and initialize, then declare it, and then initialize it. Declare, not initialize. Called mapper to past values. Constructor close the constructor close, and then we can use this public I action result get employee, and inside we can just use simply where employee equal to, let's create object new employee, and we have a property ID is 1, name is Suraj, email is okay, and just close it. The object is created, and after that we can just use where DTO is equal to mapper dot map, and we pass employee DTO, which type of object we need, and then we pass the variable. Okay, and then the return okay with DTO, and inside DTO you can see the ID and name, but due to mapper the employee DTO have not employee property, so we do not receive email. Like in DTO only ID and name, not email. So security purpose we can select it, and based on name ID property they return it. So now Now mapping is automated. Okay, so let's take some advanced feature. Advanced feature. Okay, so AutoMapper also support first they have reverse mapping. So like when we have details, we also map the employee. So and we also use custom property mapping and nested object mapping. We also use nested object mapping. And also they provide conditional mapping. So let's take example of reverse mapping. Create map of the past employee to employee.u. Dot reverse map. So now we can now if we have data inside the employee detail, we can also collect from employee. So just like you just submit some forms and they receive data in employee detail, so we can fill inside the database directly, and we can add another after that. So they have some advantage. Let's take about the advantage. First is reduce repetitive code, and also we have cleaner architecture, and also they provide better specification, better separation, like entity to DTO versus DTO. They have separate fully and easier maintained. Okay, so it's also have slight bit disadvantages. Okay, so there is a hidden mapping logic. Okay, so there is debugging can harder. Okay, and slight performance overhead. They have some. Okay, so they have a slight performance overhead introducing. So use carefully in a larger system. Okay, so let's take final definitions inside. AutoMapper is a .NET framework, is a .NET library that automatically maps properties between objects. Okay, commonly used to convert entity to DTO and reduce manual code mapping code. Okay, so let's take when we used AutoMapper. Okay, so just when you have many DTO and larger enterprise project. And cleaner architecture, layered architecture, and layer architecture. Okay, avoid for very small project okay, and performance critical micro optimization. Okay, so let's take a final thought. So AutoMapper improve code readability and reduce boilerplate mapping logic, but always understand what is happening internally. Thank you. That's it about it. Let's recap if once again. So, what is AutoMapper in C Sharp? So, AutoMapper is a library in .NET used to map one object to another automatically. It is mainly used to convert entity to DTO and convert DTO to entity. They reduce manual mapping code. So why do we need AutoMapper? So support we have employee entity like public class employee. They have property ID, name, email, and other is employee DTO, which have employee DTO with ID and name only. Without AutoMapper, we need to do everything manually, like where DTO is equal to new employee DTO, and we pass ID is equal to employee.id, name is equal to employee.name. If you have 50 properties and many classes, manual mapping become repetitive and messy. Okay, so what does AutoMapper do? AutoMapper automatically map properties with the same name and type. It reduces boilerplate code, and so let's check how do you How to use AutoMapper? So let's take a step first. Install NuGet package AutoMapper. Step 2. Create mapper profile using AutoMapper public class mapping profile. Inherit from profile. These have some method public mapping profile and we pass inside create map employee to employee DTO. Okay, so and step 3 we register in program.cs like builder.service dot add AutoMapper type of mapping profile. Let's take a step 4. In .NET controller, we use property private read-only IMapper. They have some constructor. We will declare with constructor, initialize with constructor, declare it and initialize with constructor. Then we use public action get employee. They use where employee to new employee. Let's take object of employee. And we need to a DTO like mapper.map employee DTO and we pass the object and return the DTO. In DTO have only ID and name, not email. Now mapping is automated. Advanced feature they also support reverse mapping, custom property mapping, nested object mapping, and they also have conditional mapping. Example, create map employee to employee DTO. They have dot reverse mapped. So advantage they have reduced repetitive code, and cleaner architecture, better separation, like entity versus DTO, and easier to maintain. They have also some disadvantages, like hidden mapping logic, debug can harder, and slight performance overhead. Okay, so use carefully in larger system. Let's take definition. AutoMapper is a .NET library that automatically maps properties between objects. Company use, commonly used to convert entity to DTO and reduce manual mapping. So when to use AutoMapper? Just when you have many DTOs, larger enterprise project, linear architecture or a linear architecture we have. We avoid for very small project and performance critical micro optimized. Let's take another thought. AutoMapper improves code readability and reduce boilerplate mapping logic, but always understand what is happening internally. That is the what. Thank you.